Shalom, Yashrala. This is your brother Dawada, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us his truth never will. And salutation and much love for you, Aki, and pushing his truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to jump into a couple little articles real quick. Not going to read through them both or anything like that. But nevertheless, as far as the stories we keep seeing here in the news, man, all right, keep going back to Habakkuk chapter 2. These prophecies are speaking loud and clear now more than ever. You're seeing more and more conflicts between different nations and things like this. It's not just the America versus Russia type situation, but you have a lot of these other nations that are going back and forth with one another, all right? This here article says Iranian and American ships avoid near misses, intense Persian Gulf encounter, says U.S. Navy. All right. So, speaking of, quote unquote, the Persian Gulf, right? When you read in the scriptures in Ezekiel 38 about being a garden to them, and Persia is the first one is named, which Persia is now called Iran today. All right. But nevertheless, just going into this just a little bit, it says the U.S. Navy has claimed that there were two near misses between the Iranian and American vessels and the Persian Gulf earlier this month, accusing Tehran's ship of unsafe and unprofessional conduct in the waters, which is funny and ironic that they in their backyard, all right? Persia is in the Persian Gulf, right? But America over there, and they talking about something they being unsafe. But continuing on, speaking on Tuesday, Commander Rebecca Rybak, a spokesman for the U.S. Navy Middle East-based Fifth Fleet, told Associated Press that there have been two incidents of unsafe maneuvers by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. In the video published by the U.S. Navy, the Iranian Hearth support ship appears to cut in front of the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Manomi on April 2nd, causing the American vessel to suddenly stop with its engine smoking. All right, and that's all we're going to read on that there article. Let me go back. Here's another one here. Right, Australia's peril and provocation warmongering towards China is raising risk of an all-out military conflict. Right, so you can already see how these things are shaping up to where you basically have different nations that have issues with other nations over different situations where it's not necessarily like America's more or less to say involved or, directly or indirectly involved. Nevertheless, these nations all have different conflicts with one another. This one here says, instead of seeking to engage in pragmatic dialogue and recognizing that China is a major world power while Australia isn't, politicians in Canberra seems determined to indulge themselves in macho acts of aggression. You see, because Esau just be warring with every damn body. Australia's relationship with China has been in a state of crisis for the past year, and relations have degenerated even further over the past 2 weeks, despite attempts by China to ease tensions. Last week, Wang Xing, the Chinese deputy head of missions in Australia, took the unprecedented step of appearing at the National Press Club in Canberra to speak and answer questions at a forum about Australia's current China crisis. Unfortunately, the federal government's response to Wang's attempt to reopen meaningful dialogue has been characterized by the same Cold War rhetoric, arrogance, and impetude that has created the crisis in the first place. It's a far cry from the early 1970s when Prime Minister Gong Willem made his groundbreaking visit to China and his Labor government courageously recognized the legitimacy of the communist Chinese regime even before Nixon's administration did. All right, but nevertheless, going into these here different stories and things like that, you can already see how things are shaping up to where a lot of these different nations are going to have no choice but to just like, I got a conflict with you and you got a conflict with them and they got a conflict with these folks. We should just band together and your side, all of y'all gang up together and all of us going to gang up together and we'll just have one big ass battle, man. All right, and that's ultimately what it's going to all lead to. All right, but nevertheless, let's just jump into some scriptures real quick. Not trying to make this lesson too long, but hey, this is where we are right now. All right, Matthew 24 and 3. I'm gonna read a little bit of Matthew 24. And we're gonna go to Luke because I just like how certain things are worded here. Matthew 24 and 3, it says, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, tell us when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming in the end of the world? Right, now we can read in 2nd Ezra 9 about measuring the time diligently. All right, and how do we measure these times? Through the prophecies. All right, and then you can also read about in Habakkuk, like I just quoted, Habakkuk 2, about in the end, the vision is for an appointed time, but at the end it's going to speak. Now we're at the end point in time where these visions are starting to speak, man. All right, and we can measure these times because now the vision, it's like the birth pains. The contractions are getting closer and closer and closer, and we know how it's going to all end off with what, World War III, All right, and in the midst of World War III, the Lord's going to send Yahushua back with the chariots, and then they're going to have another battle. All right, and we're going to be delivered up out of there. All right, ultimately ending with this here place being turned into the lake of fire. All right, but nevertheless, we can tell. If you can't tell now by all these different signs that's going on, not just the wars and the rumors of wars and these things, that we're at the end of the world, because like I said, all these prophecies are speaking loud and clear. We're talking about wars and rumors of wars. You also actively got the mark of the beast being pushed. Jacob's trouble is on the cusp of the edge. I mean, you didn't have what the dude, the Chauvin dude or whatever, just had his judgment or whatever. But between that, you didn't have about 3 or 4 more Jakes get killed. You had the girl that was with the knife. Somebody else just got killed today. All right, you know what I'm saying? You have all these situations going on to where, it's leading up to what? Jacob's trouble, all right? But nevertheless, let's go back into, the signs of the end. Verse 6 says, you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, all right? And that's where we are right now. You have some conflicts that are going on, some actual fighting that's going on in certain places, but then you also have the rumors of wars, like we were reading in these articles about, the American and the Iranian ships coming to near misses and things like that. You still have Iran and Israel going back and forth with one another. All right, you have China and Taiwan. All right, China and Australia. You know what I'm saying? You have all these different nations talking back and forth about certain things. You got the situation over in Ukraine. All right, basically between Russia and America. All right, but hey, nevertheless, on all fronts, you have all these different wars and things that are about to take place. It says, you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. And right now, you have a lot of, like in America with the economic situation that's going on, you have inflation that's skyrocketing right now, man. They keep handing out money, but the price of everything else is going up. The price of commodities are going up, man. Lumber is skyrocketing right now, man. All right, because why? America keep printing more and more money, man. All right, so we understand that, and then you got these mutations of these viruses and things going on. All right, so you see that all these prophecies are starting to are speaking loud and clear right now. All right, let me read verse 8. It says, all these are the beginning of sorrows. These are the times that we're in right now. Now, let me read a little bit of that in Luke. Going Luke 21:9, it says, but you shall hear of wars and commotions. Be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. All right, so we have all these different provocations that are going on right now. All right, now let me jump down to verse 25. Yeah. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth the stress of nations with perplexity, and the sea and the waves roaring. All right, and men's hearts failing for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. So when you talk about these distress upon nations with perplexity and things like that, and these different commotions going on, these uprisings, these protests, all right, you have these splits between, the populations and their governments, man. All right, so, it's not a coincidence. Some people would say, oh, well, they've always had wars on the planet Earth, but how many of them you have like this, where you have damn near the whole planet Earth about to go to war with the whole planet Earth right now, man? All right, uprisings and protests in all these different nations over multiple different things, man. All right, continuing on. Okay. Let me grab this real quick. Like I said, I'm not trying to make this too long. Is that not Job? Joel. This is Joel chapter 3, verse 9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say I am strong. Assemble yourselves and come all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. All right, so going into this scenario about wake up the mighty men, all right, and prepare war. What do you think is going on with these nations, man? Especially Russia, being a guardian to these other nations, but preparing themselves in these other nations, supplying them with weapons. All right, these nations are advancing their military equipment right now. They're not really going into their infrastructure. It's more or less in the military, because why? And these are all these nations, because they know that they're about to go into World War III right about now, man. All right, most people, the layman's turn, oh, no, they ain't doing this and they ain't doing that. But, hey, those folks ain't watching, man. These folks don't even know the history of these nations and how much they're actually starting to convert their spending and their building into military equipment and things like that, man. All right, all you have to do is watch these prophecies, man. All right, understand the prophecies, but watch the news and go into some of these the things that these nations are doing, you know, what's going on with their economies and things like that, how they're spending their money, man. All right, because you're starting to notice that a lot of nations, like I said, Russia, them, advancing their military equipment and things like that. You know, China's trying to advance their technology and things like that, and how they're preparing these different moves, going back and forth for this here world war. All right. It says, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say I'm strong. So going into that, you know, a lot of these nations at that point beforehand, all right, when it was reversed around, they spent a lot of their money into basically their economy and their infrastructure. All right, building, you know, using their like these factories and things like that. The factories was used, you know, like here in America, man, they was using these factories to, you know, make Tommy Hilfiger and Polo and Fords and Chryslers and, you know, shit like that, right? But then now all of a sudden, you know, and flat screen TVs and shit like that, right? But now all of a sudden they're taking those same factories and then they're starting to convert them around now, you know? Like, for instance, in America, they even got rid of a lot of the manufacturing here, but guess what's still here? Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, General Electric, all right, Northrop Grumman, all right? These different companies, these are all basically supplying the military with their, you know, the military arsenal, all right? So you're starting to see these nations that are taking their, you know, their building and their stuff like that, from building up their infrastructure and, you know, just the regular everyday life of what they would be building, you know, like I said, luxurious items, cars, clothes, just for those purposes. Instead of making, you know, the Tommy Hilfiger, now they're making battle dress uniforms, like the camouflage the military wears. All right, instead of making, you know, bicycle helmets and motorcycle helmets, now they're making military helmets. Instead of making Chryslers and Fords, you know, Ford F-150s and shit like that, now they're making military Humvees and tanks. All right. So, hey, man, this is what you see these nations starting to do right about now, man. All right. This is verse 11. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen. All ye heathen. So again, going into all these different nations are preparing their nations for a military conflict, and gather yourselves together round about thither, cause the mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. Let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, for there will I sit and judge all the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Now is the time now for this big, ultimately for the Lord to judge all these other nations, and then they all pretty much going to get it all at one time. All right, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full, and the fats overflow, and their wickedness is great. Multitudes in the valley of decisions, for the day of Yahweh is near in the valley of decisions. All right, so going into that multitudes, man. This is going to go into that World War III situation, man. All right. This is Revelation 11 and yeah, I mean, oh, for time's sake, we'll read it. Let me start at 11. Revelation 11 and 11. And after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them, which is talking about basically Jake waking back up. You know, Ezekiel 37, the valley of the dry bones, right? Going out on the highways and the byways and prophesying, you know, and waking up more or less, more Jake and speaking of these prophecies, right? And the great fear, all right, is talking about Esau, because Esau knows that he has but a short time. Look, Revelation 12 and 12, real quick. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil has come down to you, having great wrath, because he knoweth he have but a short time. So he already know, once he started seeing Jake waking up, he noticed the end of his kingdom, right? So going back to Revelation 11 and 11, or 12, and they heard a great voice from heaven saying, come unto them, come up hither. And they ascended up into heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them, which is talking about the elect being beamed up into those so-called UFOs, the chariots, right? That's going to happen in the midst of World War III when those nukes is coming down, man. All right, so look, the elect's going to be beamed up, but this is all going on in the midst of World War III, right? Because these nukes are about to start coming down. That's how World War III basically is going to end, all right? And in the same hour, there was a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, which is America, all right? And in the earthquake, there was slain 7,000, and the remnant were frightened and gave glory to the Most High of heaven. All right, so, you know, a complete number of people wound up dying. Basically, you know, everybody here, if you left in America at that point in time, your ass is grass. You missile food at that point in time, because we just read how the elect was going to be beamed up. Everybody else is going to be bathing in a goddamn nuke bath in the lake of fire, man. All right, and that's just what it's going to be. Here's the point, verse 14. The second woe is past, all right, because there was three woes. Descriptions talk about three different woes, right? And in this context, it says the second woe is past, right? That you had World War I, World War II. It says the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. All right, and that's talking about World War III. All right, so hey, this is basically what's going on, where you see these nations are gathering up for that third woe to take place, which is going to be World War III. All right. Let me grab this real quick. Isaiah chapter 9, I believe it is. Yep. Isaiah 9 and 5. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. So when you go back to the olden days, how they used to fight wars like the movie 300, you know, when what they call the hot gates, what is it, Thermopylae, the hot gates, right? When the first time the Persians attacked their ass, right? All you heard was, you know, a confused noise, right? Ah, ching, 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 ching. You know, the swords and the shields hitting one another and men screaming and yelling, ah, and then people getting stabbed up. That's what the old battles was like. Horses and chariots running over people and everything like that. You know, that was the old type of war. But nowadays, it says, for every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. Because while now we have this so-called technology, well, they have the technology now to be dropping bombs, not just to be dropping bombs, but shooting missiles off, man. All right, so like a lot more people can wind up dying. Again, you have all Xerxes' armies that was right there fighting them 300 in that little gate. All they would take is one bomb to just drop over there, and all of his army is just decimated in one moment. But look how long it was taking them to sit there and try to fight them off with the swords and everything like that, man. So look, all these people gonna be over there in the Middle East fighting this war, man. They got all these missiles to be using, man. They're going to start using all these missiles and dropping bombs on people left and right, left and right, left and right. Just like in after September 11th when they went over there in Iraq. And I remember this, you know, because I was like in high school. But they had this campaign called Shock and Awe. And every single night on CNN, you can sit there and watch, you know what I'm saying, them over there in Iraq just bombing the hell out of them, man. Just night after night after night after night after night after night, man. All right, so, hey, talking about with the garments, the burning and the fuel of fire, man, that's what it was like. You know what I'm saying? When they went in, you know, what they call it, shock and awe. All right, but this is going to be so much more, man, because that's what they're going to be using is these missiles in the midst of World War III, man. All right, so, hey, this is going to be the day of the Lord, you know, that great destruction. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close out with that. Like I said, I just want to touch on those two quick articles because there's so many different articles coming out. You know, instead of just going into, you know, each of these different articles more and more, you know, if you got the time, go into them and find out about why these different nations are having conflicts with one another. And you'll see that, hey, man, this is all shaping up to be a world war. Because it's not like they're going to go back to having peace and everything like that. If anything, their relationships are deteriorating faster and faster than what you can believe, man. So the only way to end all these things is what? In the midst of World War III, man. All right, and we're quickly approaching that, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and close out with that. Lord willing, this here lesson was edifying unto the elect. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakak Badash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that taught us this truth and ever will. And salutation and much love for you, Aki, and pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I say, stay strong. Shalom.